What's up, everybody? DJ Buck here. Move the sticks. Buck, I'm in San Diego at home. You do not look like you're at home. Where are you right now?
I am down in Jacksonville, getting ready. I am doing back together weekend down in Jacksonville. So came a few days early to check out the Jaguars, see what they're doing. Double dipping a little bit, DJ. Double dipping a little.
There you go. I love it. I got pulled off of Chargers last minute for Saturday, so I'm going to be Cowboys. So I'm going to be up there. Oxnard. So early morning, Buck. It's a little drive from the old San Diego up to Oxnard, but get a chance to get up there. I think Rich Eisen will be up there. I think Jane Slater. So get a chance to go up there and check out the Cowboys. And when you get out to these training camps, if you're listening, you get a chance to go. I'd encourage you to do it. It's great. Players kind of let their hair down, so to speak. You want to. A great opportunity to interact with some of the players each and every day. Most of these teams have an autograph line for you if you want to bring your kids out there. It's great. It's an awesome atmosphere. Plus, you just get it your first smell of the grass, your first taste of football here in the fall. For those that haven't been, for me, I think training camp's well worth the trek out there if you get a chance to go.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it's a great atmosphere, particularly when they let all the fans go and you get a chance to see the players. You get a chance to watch the coaches kind of do their deal. I think it's the only time during the season that fans really get a chance to kind of see how the sausage is made. And if you are an old school football junkie, if you are a new school where you want to take your kids out to kind of see their favorite players or to develop a love of the game, there's no other place to go than to go to one of these training camps. And if you're in California, particularly Southern California, you have 5 teams in your backyard. I mean, you have the Rams, the Chargers, you have the Saints, the Cowboys, and the Raiders all working in Southern California. Like, there's no excuse for you not to go and see a little higher level football if you're in interest.
Yeah, no doubt. This is an episode today. We're going to rip through it, Buck. But we are going to go through, I'm going to give you 32 names, new faces, new places. So each team, I'm going to give you one name that when you flip on NFL Network and you see Inside Training Camp and you see that we're showing practice of a particular team, I'm going to give you, this is a guy you need to watch. This is someone that we're looking forward to seeing in this new environment. Could be a rookie, could be a trade, could be a free agent. But let's rip through it. You ready to go?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's start in the AFC East. We're going to start with the Buffalo Bills, and I'm going to give you the name, and I'll give you my reason after, but I'm going to tee you up on this one. Considering who's left and what's there, Keon Coleman, the second-round pick of the Buffalo Bills, was my new one to watch there.
Yeah, look, he is a new one to watch, and I would say my eyes are on him because, one, he was the hand-picked wide receiver 1 by Josh Allen. And anytime a quarterback is invested in the wide receiver, he is going to make sure that he does all the little things to ensure that they have the chemistry and the trust and the continuity to be able to succeed right away. The other part of it is if Keon Coleman doesn't run a slow time during his workouts, Keon Coleman is one of those guys that we talk about in the same conversation with Malik Neighbors and Roma Dunze and those guys, because the conversation during the middle of the regular season was about Keon Coleman being a dominant dude down at Florida State. He has that potential. And as the Buffalo Bills transition to being more of a 12 personnel team with 2 tight ends on the field, he's going to have more one-on-one opportunities on the outside. And his ability to win those jump balls could really be a difference. It can add a dimension to the Buffalo Bills offense.
Yeah, I think you don't get the route running, obviously, that you lost in Stephon Diggs, but you get more room for error for Josh Allen. You get a big catch radius. You get a big physical power forward type body. That's going to pay off once you get in those third downs, red zone type situations where you don't need a lot of space. He can go make plays in crowds. So that's the one. I think it's a fascinating one there for the Buffalo Bills. Okay, this next one, this just seems weird to me, especially because we stay inside the division. The Miami Dolphins, I put Jordan Poyer down as my as Miami Dolphin to watch because it's just going to look weird seeing him in a Dolphin uniform after all those years in Buffalo.
Yeah, but I think Jordan Poyer is a huge addition. And I don't know if you saw some of the commentary that's coming out from South Florida. Jordan Poyer talked about the way the Dolphins were perceived by the rest of the league and by the rest of the league. And he talked about they felt like, in a way, that they were front runners, that they could be broken if things didn't go their way. So to have someone who can come in from that vantage point and say, hey, guys, we have to be a tougher team. We have to do things in a different way in those adverse situations to get to the other side. To me, he adds toughness to their defense. He brings veteran leadership, and he's been a winner. They've won a lot of games in Buffalo. He's been a part of winning teams. I think this team has been good, but for them to go to the great level, they need some of those leaders to carry them. Jordan Poyer could be one of those guys to help them get to the next level.
Obviously, you got dudes in that secondary, Javon Holland, Jalen Ramsey, but I think, again, just a veteran and, something that we've talked about a lot, Buck, just communication. I mean, think about offensive line in the secondary. Communication is just so huge. And then to have a guy like that who's literally seen everything and who's very familiar with the division. So I think there's a lot of value there. I'm interested to see how he looks there with the Miami Dolphins. New England Patriots, Drake May, there's no other way you can go. You're going to see a top 5 rookie quarterback out there at training camp.
Yeah, you can see a top 5 rookie quarterback out there in training camp, but you may not see him as a starting quarterback for a long time. Based on the words, Jared Mayo just recently said that Jacoby Brissett is the most pro-ready quarterback there. Well, obviously, he's played in the pros. But it appears that they're going to have a very patient and long, drawn-out process before Drake May gets to the field. So we may want to catch him in training camp, but we may not see him again until November, December.
Yep, I'll be interested to see what happens there. By the way, I would love a study on this. It feels like defensive head coaches are more reluctant to go early with rookie quarterbacks, whereas offensive head coaches see the value in getting them on the field. We're going to learn. We're going to figure each other out. We're going to grow together. Whereas the defensive coaches are so paranoid of turnovers, Buck, that they seem like they're a little more reluctant to get those young rookies out there at that position.
There's some value to that. Defensive coaches always look at offenses in a way like, I don't want you to lose games for me on offense. So they're a little more conservative. They're a little more obsessed with the turnovers. And when they see rookies, they know rookies are more prone to turn it over. That's why they're really reluctant to give them the ball and say, hey, here are the keys to the offense.
Jets, Tyron Smith. There's a lot of reasons there, but I'll give you the floor on that one.
Look, his availability. He is the linchpin to this offensive line. They need him to be able to protect Aaron Rodgers' blind side. As Aaron Rodgers goes, the Jets will go. And if he's not protected, they won't have a chance of being able to get off the ground. So Tyron Smith needs to be available. He needs to play at a very high level to prevent Aaron Rodgers from getting knocked around. Because if Aaron Rodgers is available, if he plays all 17, the Jets are going to win 10 or more games. But if he's beat up and banged up, he's not going to last the duration of the season, and that will squash the New York Jets' playoff hopes.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, you have Morgan Moses, 33 years old. You've got Tyron Smith, 33 years old. You've got Olu Fashanu, who's the young rookie, talented first-round pick out of Penn State. So you've got 3 guys. Man, if they could somehow – they got to keep 2 of them, healthy throughout the whole year. And it would sure be nice if the 2 vets could buy Fashanu a little time before you have to throw him out there. So I think that's why it's going to be key for Tyron Smith to stay healthy. Baltimore Ravens, Derrick Henry, enough said there. I don't know we need to spend too much time on that because there's been so much attention given to it, but it seems like perfect fit there between a player and a culture there with the Ravens.
Yeah, it seems like a perfect fit. And look, King Henry, really, I would say, fortifying the running game. Even though the Baltimore Ravens have changed, there's some things that remain the same when it comes to the way that they want to win games, particularly down the stretch. They want to be the more physical team. They want to dominate you in the trenches, and they want to be able to control the game, particularly as it gets into the postseason. Their ability to put Derrick Henry with Lamar Jackson is scary for defenses all over the place. And to me, it creates more opportunities in the passing game because you really have to worry about King Henry. They haven't had to worry about the running back. Teams have had to worry about the quarterback, but not the combination of the quarterback and the running back. That now leaves more one-on-one opportunities for Zay Flowers and Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. King Henry is a really critical piece of this championship puzzle for the Ravens.
Yeah, I think he directly leads to Zay Flowers being a Pro Bowler because you just mentioned it, took the words out of my mouth. I think this is a 12 personnel team. I think they'd be out there, live out there with those 2 talented tight ends. Now you've got a big physical running back to run the rock. You're going to get one-on-ones, and I think Zay Flowers is kind of a nightmare. When you can remove safety help and let him just work one-on-one, I think he's going to cook a lot of these DBs, man.
Yeah, he prevents King Henry's presence, prevents you from playing 2 deep coverage, prevents you from rolling the coverage to Zay Flowers because you don't have enough people in the box. It's a huge addition. And if they use a little load management where they don't overutilize him early, but keep him fresh late, when the weather turns cold, when the leaves change and it becomes more about the running game, this is when the Baltimore Ravens become a very scary team.
Yep, no doubt. We get to the Cincinnati Bengals. I had a little off the wall one here, a little different. I went Chris Jenkins Jr. Someone obviously you knew his dad, Buck, but this is someone who in that Michigan defense A, they're blowing people out, so he doesn't have to play a ton of snaps. B, he doesn't get a chance to just truly rush the whole time. I'm curious to see Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, this offense going to score points. This scheme, I think, will free him up a little bit. You think about Trey Hendrickson on the outside. I think there's a chance to see. I don't know what he is as a pass rusher, but I think we'll get a chance to see what he can do here early.
Yeah, no, it's not even really about him being a pass rusher. It's about him being a threat on that line. We can talk about Trey Hendrickson, and we can talk about the linebacker core, Logan Wilson, and those guys. But on the inside, they need someone that can create disruption. His quickness, his athleticism, his overall explosiveness will make him a handful for guys on the inside to be able to deal with him. And like a lot of these Michigan players, he may be a much better pro than collegiate, just being freed up in the system to really go get it.
Jerry Jeudy is who I had for the Cleveland Browns. And look, I'd be interested to get your take on this, because I do think sometimes when you have a talent and it hasn't worked out, and we use the word fit. To me, it's about really the word comfort. Like, can you make a guy comfortable so the talent can show? I don't think we ever really saw, an extended run of what his talent looked like there in Denver. It didn't work, and they had some up and downs, the quarterback position. They changed coaches, but it never clicked. I think Amari Cooper and that Alabama connection there with him in Cleveland, I'm curious to see what Jerry Jeudy looks like in a Cleveland Browns uniform.
Couple things, just in thinking about that, and I hadn't really put together the Alabama connection. But you have to understand, Jerry Jeudy and those guys had to admire Amari Cooper because he was first in line at Alabama. They got a chance to see him. When they were watching those tapes in film room with Nick Saban, Amari Cooper was on the screen. They probably modeled some of their game after Amari Cooper. To have, I would say, that big brother in the wide receiver room, to get Jerry Jeudy to take his game up a notch, the instant rapport and the respect between wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2, that's there. But in a global perspective for Deshaun Watson, 2 route runners on the field, 2 route runners sandwiching David Njoku on the inside. There are no excuses for Deshaun Watson. And I've never seen a quarterback go from being a 3-time Pro Bowler to being someone that no one really respects. At some point, Deshaun Watson is either going to do it or he's not. This is the year that he has to do it. And Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper should be the ones that facilitate him regaining that Pro Bowl form that has been lost since he left Houston to go to Cleveland.
Yeah, and some there's some concern just how does he fit with the offense there, with the scheme. It's different than what he did in Houston. We'll see. Now that they've had some more experience together, no excuses, on the
Dorsey comes
side.
over.
Yeah, on the playing side or the coaching side. Like, it's all there. They got to figure this thing out and make this thing work. So anyways, interesting there with Jerry Jeudy. Round up the division here. The Pittsburgh Steelers could have gone with Patrick Queen as a free agent. Obviously, they addressed the offensive line once again early in the draft, but I'm going to go because of kind of the, Deontay Johnson departure. I'm going to go Roman Wilson out of Michigan. So I've got a couple Michigan rookies I'm looking forward to seeing here so far.
Yeah, Roman Wilson, spectacular player at Michigan, and he did it in a role that had him as a compliment to what they did offensively. Blake Corum in the running game, it was a big part of what they did at Michigan. He would make plays at times, but always when they needed a play in the passing game, Roman Wilson was that guy. The Pittsburgh Steelers have routinely knocked it out of the park, drafting wide receivers outside of the first round. Roman Wilson appears to have a lot of those traits that they look for: the toughness, the route running, just the willingness to kind of check his ego at the door. Those guys have typically worked for the Steelers. I think he's another in a long line of great receivers that have kind of come through the draft for them that weren't drafted in the first round.
You're looking forward to the old school rematch, Big Ten style in training camp. Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State getting a chance to line up against Michigan's Roman Wilson will be a good challenge for the young rookie. I think he's going to have to play a big role for them. All right, let's get now to the South. And Stephon Diggs is the obvious choice there when you talk about the Houston Texans.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs, how he fits. It's funny. There's a sense, or maybe there's a perception that Stephon Diggs has greatly declined because things didn't end up well for him in the Buffalo Bills. But I still see him as a guy who has wide receiver 1 talent and ability. How does it fit in Houston will be the key, because to me, it's about Stephon Diggs and his chemistry and his ability to work his way to fit the puzzle, because this is a team that has done some really good things. They're on the rise. He's the newbie. Can he find a way to fit in as opposed to them fitting in for him? Can he fit in for them, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of mouths to feed there. So I'm curious to see, early on, if he's not getting the touches that he, would love when there was a gap between him and everybody else that he's played with. Now all of a sudden you look up and you're like, man, I'm not so sure that you might not be the third most talented. If we're just talking about just pure talent with Nico Collins and Tank Dell, I mean, obviously you've accomplished a heck of a lot more than those guys have. But there's a lot of mouths to feed there is what I'm getting at. So I'm curious to see how he handles that, Buck.
Yeah, how does he handle playing maybe a lesser role? How does he help Nico Collins grow into being a number one? What can he do to unlock some of the stuff that we saw from Tank Dell? Potentially, they could have arguably one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver core in football. Yeah. Those three guys are problems. How do they get along? The chemistry, all of that matters. And how much pressure does C.J. Stroud feel to throw the ball to Stephon Diggs? That also impacts the way that their offense will work out.
No doubt. The Colts, I'm going to go with their rookie first rounder here, Laiatu Latu.
Look, man, he was the most polished pass rusher in the draft. I think he goes to a system that is a perfect fit for him because it's a see ball, get ball system, not a lot of complexities to it. Just allow the athlete to be the athlete. And he has a lot of tools in his toolbox. The effort, the energy, the explosiveness, but more importantly, just the tools that he brings to the table. He opposite Kwity Paye. Long day for guys. If you're not gassed up and ready to go, it could be a long day for you dealing with those guys off the edges.
Yeah, and I think the fact that something we don't talk about a lot with pass rushers, he's going to play on a fast surface in a division with a lot of fast surfaces. So that's going to help him as well, play fast. That's how they want to attack. I think he's a great fit there. The next one is an interesting one. I don't know if people would have predicted this one here, Buck. We'll see where you want to go because it's your squad. I want Mason Smith is someone I'm intrigued by, and I'm anxious to hear what you find out about him. But someone who, just from a talent standpoint, he looks physically like Chris Jones as a defensive tackle at LSU. He's 6'6", he's over 300 pounds. He had flashes early on in his career, then he got hurt, and then you saw a little bit of flash here and there. But to me, there's guys like this all the time, these second-round defensive linemen that not all put – the puzzle isn't put together yet. But if you're looking for somebody who could pop, who could click, I think he's an interesting one to keep an eye on.
He's really interesting, and he's interesting because he's playing around two guys that are super talented. Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen are really talented. And if you can have another young guy emerge as a difference maker on the inside, you're the Jaguars. You're set for the next 5 years in terms of being able to win in the trenches. But for Mason Smith, I would say much like Trayvon Walker, you saw all the athletic traits, but can you take the traits and the tools and put it together where it provides winning performance? He is an X factor on this defensive line. And let's be honest, Eric Armstead comes over, but Eric Armstead comes over more as the leader than the impact player, more so to show those guys how to be pros and those things. Mason Smith is the one that they need to be a player. And if he can be a player in year one, it only helps their chances of being able to dominate on defense and ultimately win a lot of games.
This has to be one of the longest, biggest defensive lines in the league, man. I mean, they are
prototype.
Huge.
I mean, they're huge. It's the prototype. It's a height, weight, speed team. And they've become that. And, as they get down the line, if they can get contributions from the young guys, it's only going to help them.
All right, we go to the Tennessee Titans, former Jag, Calvin Ridley, jumping in that offense there with Will Levis.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley providing, I would say, some stability on the outside for Will Levis. They tried it with Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks hasn't played up to expectation. Now you have two veterans on the outside in DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley that can win one-on-one matchups that are going to be exactly where they need to be. And I'll be honest, Calvin Ridley may find more comfort in that locker room in Tennessee than he found in Jacksonville. More guys that are kind of like him in terms of like edginess and bounceability. He's going to give them that swag. And if Will Levis plays like that coaching staff and like the front office believes in them, this is a dark horse team. No one has said much about Tennessee, but they won a lot of games when Mike Vrabel was there. If Brian Callahan can kind of pick up the torch and move it forward, team could be good. Calvin really has to be a big part of that, though.
Yeah, no expectations on the Tennessee Titans there. So again, no pressure. He can play really loose and free. Man, there was so much buzz coming out of a training camp last year in Jacksonville, and it was solid, not spectacular. Hopefully, he can find and kind of recapture that level he had in Atlanta this year with the Titans. Okay, let's get to the West. Bo Nix, rookie quarterback, first-round pick, Denver Broncos. That seems to be the obvious one. They'll have all eyes on him.
Yeah, he has all eyes on him, but to me, Bo Nix has some of that Brock Purdy feel to him in terms of 64 starts as a collegian, steps right into an offense that I believe is perfectly suited for his talents. The way that Sean Payton has played in the past with Drew Brees, he can play that way again with Bo Nix. Not saying that Bo Nix is Drew Brees, but maybe he's Drew Brees-like in terms of his approach, some of the young Drew Brees stuff that he did in New Orleans. Maybe Sean Payton can dust that off, but a lot of it is his maturity, his IQ, and more importantly, the underrated athleticism that he brings to the offense that can help them win games.
Yeah, efficient, accurate, take care of the football. That's kind of, what transitioned at Oregon for him, and that was the improvements that he made. We'll see if that carries over there with Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. Xavier Worthy with the Chiefs. We've already seen the first highlight of Mahomes uncorking a deep ball and him getting on top of coverage, and the Buffalo Bills fans losing their minds because they traded off that pick. But the Chiefs, Andy Reid, it goes back to being around him in Philadelphia with Deshaun. He knows what to do with this type of player. He's coached this type of player forever.
He has coached this type of player forever, and it's funny. I had a chance to see Deshaun Jackson he might have been on the Colin Cowherd show, and he was talking about Andy Reid had texted him, show him that clip of Xavier Worthy pulling that in and saying, I'm getting flashbacks. And now we have a clear picture of maybe what Andy Reid saw in Xavier Worthy when he made the pick. Wasn't replacing Tyreek Hill, but it's giving him some of that Deshaun Jackson work. And I don't know if people remember how good Deshaun Jackson was for the Philadelphia Eagles with Andy Reid, but he was a big play waiting to happen every time. Xavier Worthy could be that guy. And this offense has had to play half-court basketball for 2 years. They now get to open the floor and maybe fast break a little bit more than they've been able to. Could be a fun year in Kansas City, looking at this offense kind of reemerge as one of those fun offenses to watch.
All right, Buck. See that football up there?
Yep, sure do. Daniel Jeremiah.
See if that rings a bell. Eagles 38-31 over the Giants, December 19th, 2010 in the Meadowlands.
Is that when Deshaun Jackson returned to punt?
That's when Tom Coughlin almost had a heart attack.
That's when he returned to punt. He returned to punt at the end of the game. Game is wrapped up. All we got to do is just get it out. And Deshaun Jackson does what he has always done from his days at Long Beach Poly and Cal. He finds a way to put it in the paint.
Yep. That wins you a division, gets you a football if you're a scout. So appreciate that one. No, I'm curious to see how Andy uses him. Obviously, he has the blueprint. The Raiders, Christian Wilkins, we've talked about him a bunch on the pod, but going over there, pairing up with Max Crosby, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, best 1-2 inside-outside punch that we could see. Christian Wilkins being able to dominate on the inside last year, had 8.5 sacks. Now you team him and put him alongside Max Crosby, a no-nonsense, energetic, relentless pass rusher. You got to love it. The length that these guys bring, the way that they can kind of tax the offensive line. You're the Las Vegas Raiders and Patrick Graham. You would now have a lot more creativity and flexibility. And also remember, Malcolm Koonce on the other side is not a slouch. They have some talent now on the line, but those top two guys are going to command a lot of attention that will allow the rest of the defense to eat.
Last one in the AFC, it's the Chargers. Again, a couple different directions I could go there, including Joe Alt, their first-round pick. I'm going to go Ladd McConkey just because of what left the building at receiver. Second round out of Georgia. He's gonna play a big role for him, and someone who can play inside, outside, pure route runner. Missed some practice time and has missed some time during his career there at Georgia. Got to keep him healthy. But that's one that I'm definitely going to keep an eye on when I get out there to Chargers camp.
To me, it fits the profile. So think about what Roman Wilson was to the Michigan offense when Jim Harbaugh was the coach. Well, Ladd McConkey is that version for him in the Chargers offense now that he's in the NFL. Ladd McConkey is a high IQ player. He can play multiple positions, outside, inside, terrific with the ball in his hands. So when we think about the ball control pass game that they may go to, catch and run plays that he can make, and a willing blocker who is highly competitive. To me, he fits what the Chargers want to be. Highly competitive physical team with high IQ guys that are versatile. I expect him to make a huge impact on this offense right away.
I know all quarterbacks are big on trust. Seeing Justin Herbert in every game he's played in his NFL career, he is huge on trust. So how quickly can he capture his trust as someone he feels comfortable with on key downs? I think that'll be kind of a contest between him and Josh Palmer, who ends up being that guy in that role in terms of having that faith and trust from Justin Herbert. All right, let's take a quick break. We come back, we'll rip through the NFC, new faces, new places right after this. All right, Buck, Dallas Cowboys. I'm going Tyler Guyton here. Someone who has not played a ton of football at Oklahoma, but who is, what they tell you at Oklahoma, as talented as anybody they've had there along the offensive line, and they've had a ton of NFL offensive linemen roll through there.
Yeah, they have had a ton of NFL offensive linemen roll through there. And let's be honest about the Cowboys and what the Cowboys have done. The Cowboys have been really good with offensive linemen of late. You think about Tyler Smith jumping in, and I know there were some questions about him coming out of Tulsa. How good is he? Is he going to fit? Is he a guard? Is he a tackle? He jumped right in and played well right away. Maybe Guyton gives them that. Maybe he gives them that athletic player that they're able to develop and get into the lineup, and he plays better than expectations right away. But they need it, because they not only need to be solid up front in terms of being able to protect Dak Prescott, they need to be able to run the football. This may not be the explosive offense that we've seen in the past. They may need to control games, and the only way you can control games is you got to dominate and win in the trenches.
Yep, he'll get some work too, going up against Micah Parsons and company in practice. So he'll get a chance to find his sea legs, so to speak, before he gets thrown out there early in the season. Speaking of guys that can rush the quarterback, Brian Burns with the Giants. Saw a little bit of that. I haven't seen all of Hard Knocks. I've just seen some of the clips that have been posted. But obviously a big chunk of their offseason is going out there and making that trade to get Brian Burns from Carolina.
Yeah, big part of it. When the Giants have won, they've won because their defensive line has really kind of led the way. You now look at their defensive line, Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns and Thibodeau on the outside. They have the ability to win with four and play coverage behind it. And remember this, new defensive coordinator, Shane Burton, coming from Tennessee. He wants to rush four. He wants to play coverage. So all of the pieces of the puzzle fit. But Brian Burns has to be a big part of that. 12 to 14 sacks has to be the expectation, because they have to be able to win their one-on-ones on the outside. He's done it before in Carolina, but now the consistency is going to be demanded for him to be able to do it in the Giants with all that spotlight on him.
No doubt. By the way, this is the weirdest one. God, it's going to be weird. I haven't seen him yet at camp. I'm sure they've got cranked up here. But Saquon Barkley in the Eagles jersey is going to take a minute to get used to.
It's going to take a minute to get used to, but there are a few different things that I think about when I see Saquon with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not only what he brings as a runner, but what he does as a receiver, but it's Kellen Moore and how Kellen Moore unlocks his talent. Everyone is going to envision the Eagles from 2 years ago when Shane Steichen had Jalen Hurts running a lot of RPOs and read option. I don't expect to see that version of the offense. I expect to see what Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott did for years with Kellen Moore at the controls. That was running the football effectively with Ezekiel Elliott and throwing with Dak Prescott. Jalen Hurts has to be that, but for Jalen Hurts to be the best version of himself as a play-action passer, Saquon Barkley has to be a dominant runner and receiver for the Eagles. I expect him to do that. That offensive line is good, but yeah, Saquon Barkley has a huge part of he'll be a huge part of this game plan.
Yeah, and Kellen's going to give him a bunch of easy layup completions too. So he's going to get the ball to him quick and let him go with it out in space in the pass game as well. No surprise, the Commanders, it's got to be Jaden Daniels. How long before he just takes this thing over?
Yeah, Jaden Daniels, man. I think there's so much excitement about him just because of the talent and what Cliff Kingsbury has done in the past with talented dual-threat quarterbacks. Going all the way back to his days at A&M with Johnny Manziel, he has found a way to get these guys playing at a high level quickly. I'm excited to see what Jaden Daniels does for this Commanders offense. There are weapons there, and he has a lot of experience coming from the college game. How quickly can they adapt and get him on the field and get him playing well?
Yep, we get to the Bears, another rookie here, Caleb Williams. They've already put him out there. He is going to be the guy. It is a good situation to go into in terms of what's around him. I'm curious to see just, early in training camp, once we get to the preseason, just how comfortable is he getting the ball out of his hand? That's one of the things, holding the ball a little bit too long, trying to do too much creating. Like he's got a minor in creativity. He's got a major in playing on time.
Yeah, he needs to play on time. And DJ, what we'll have an opportunity to see, how much of that was feeling like he had to do more than he needed to do at SC. Now that he has a very solid stable of playmakers around him, he has a solid offensive line, a good defense, a defense that appears to be going to the next level. He just needs to play the game. And if he plays the game, that's more than enough for the Bears to win a lot of games. If he can kind of just, I would say, keep the seatbelt on. He doesn't have to be the spectacular playmaker. Just play within the confines of the offense. that is more than enough to get the Bears to a respectable level and to get them to compete.
It's a fine line being creative and being reckless. He's got to straddle that line here, and err may be on the side of being a little bit conservative here with Caleb. All right, Terrion Arnold, rookie corner for the Lions. Really could have put Rakestraw there as well. They got 2 rookie corners. That was a big area of need for them, and they addressed it in a big way.
Yeah, it did address it. I like the fact that they doubled down. And they doubled down with guys that are very, very talented, guys that fit their personality in terms of this team wants to be a gritty team. And when you watch Terrion Arnold, you watch Enosh Rakeshaw, hey, man, they are not only nose-to-nose players in terms of playing press, but they throw their bodies around. They're into being run supporters. They fit. And AG, Aaron Glenn, defense coordinator for the Detroit Lions, wants to play man-to-man. So if these guys can hold up in coverage with Aiden Hutchinson getting after it up front, the Detroit Lions are going to be in good shape.
Josh Jacobs with the Packers. Again, that's going to be one that's kind of a little weird. We have so many running backs in new places this year. But Josh Jacobs, no nonsense, great vision, great balance. Not going to be a huge home run hitter, but man, I think he's a nice compliment to the young quarterback and all those young wideouts they have there in Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's an upgrade over Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones was a nice playmaker out of the backfield, but I still saw him as more of a scat back. To me, Josh Jacobs is a running back. He's going to be physical. He's going to give them the ability to run. They can do some of the things that LaFleur showed last year, but now I think you can take it to a different level because you have, I would say, a better running back in the fold. And that's not being dismissive of Aaron Jones, but Josh Jacobs to me is a top 5 running back who's a rushing champion who can get it done. He now changes the way defenses have to approach the Green Bay Packers. For all of the stuff that we talk about Jordan Love, defenses can't just play Jordan Love because if not, Josh Jacobs can punish you. Big factor, big X factor for the Packers offense.
I also love Marshawn Lloyd. I love that backfield that they have there. Sam Darnold is where I went. Could have gone J.J. McCarthy, but I think we're going to be Sam Darnold's year here unless he falters in a big way. I think this is a chance for Sam Darnold to reach that potential we've always known that he's had.
Yeah, now never for Sam Darnold. He has people that really believe in him. KOC believes in him. Kevin O'Connell is going to do everything in his power to make sure that he plays well. And we've seen what Kevin has done for quarterbacks. You saw the revolving door of quarterbacks they had last year. They still found a way to move the ball and weapons on that on the outside. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, when TJ Hawkinson gets right, they have enough talent to be able to do it. It's really on Sam Darnold to be able to just make the plays that are there to be made.
Yeah, protect the football. He does that. I think he'll be outstanding there. I went with Michael Penix just because I know what Kirk Cousins is. Kirk Cousins has been a great player, and they paid him a lot of money, and this is going to be Kirk Cousins' year, and if not, the next 2 years. But I'm just curious to see what Michael Penix looks like. That's my curiosity choice there. I want to see what he looks like there on an NFL field.
Me too, DJ, because you see clips from the offseason workouts, and he's dropping dimes, and you see all the weapons that they have on the outside, and we've envisioned what this offense will look like with Kirk Cousins. But, man, imagine if Michael Penix gets his opportunity to run this offense with the big playmakers they have and how they're really committed to making this a diverse offense. He is someone that you got to be ready for because if he has an opportunity to come out the bullpen, he may never get the job back.
Carolina Panthers, Deontay Johnson. I think it's really twofer. I would put Xavier Legette in there as well, but this was a receiving core last year that just didn't really give Bryce Young a chance. Now you get a chance with Deontay Johnson when his head's in the right place. Buck, he can uncover, he can create some separation, and then you've got Legette who's got some size and speed to complement him. But I guess I'd probably couple those two guys together.
Look, they all should be together. I think you throw Jonathan Mingo in there from last year too. Like the wide receiver core has to step up. They have to be better. David Canales is very optimistic that Bryce Young is going to be the right franchise fit for this team, but they have to support him. Everyone around him has to do their job. And last year, the wide receivers didn't do their job well enough. Deontay Johnson has to be mature enough to make sure that he can handle the responsibilities of being their number one receiver. I don't believe he did that very, very well in Pittsburgh. Maybe being moved kind of accelerates the developmental process, the maturity process. He understands the responsibility that comes along with being number one. He lives up to it.
Yep. Talisi Fuaga going to be starting early at tackle for the New Orleans Saints. I'll put it this way. Going through all these depth charts and looking at all this stuff, what do the kids say? Mid,
yeah.
Whatever you call it. Like,
yeah.
They're off. Like, you just kind of look at it, you're like, well, who left? Well, who came? Like, what they do in the draft? What they do in the free agents? It's kind of, you look at it and like,
yeah. Nothing.
It's just kind of, I don't want to saddle. This sounds terrible. I think they might be the most boring. It might be the most boring roster when you're going through and just looking at all these rosters. Not that they're bad. There's way. I mean, they're not one of the worst teams in the NFL, but just kind of boring.
Yeah, no, like beige paint on walls sometimes needs some nice pictures. And what you're hoping is that Fuanga can be a nice picture on the wall. So you don't see the beige backdrop. You're more focused on the artistry and what that picture can provide. They have weapons to be able to do it. Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara still is able to get it done. Derek Carr, if protected, can throw the ball all over the yard. But Fuanga has to be a big part of it. So that beige paint, that beige backdrop has to show up so we can see the artistry and appreciate the artists.
Yeah, keeping that going here. I'm going to go on the offensive line again. I'm going to go Graham Barton for the Bucks. Someone who played center early in his career at Duke, that kicked out to left tackle, and always go back to center. Someone who is incredibly smart, incredibly bright, and looking forward to seeing what he can do there in Tampa. And that's a big spot. It's a big role for him when you have Baker Mayfield getting some money to come back and see if he can keep on the same track that he showed last year.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield is everything. And so you want to make sure that you have the fortress in front of him ready to go. And Graham Barton is one of our favorite players in the draft. His versatility, being able to play 1 of 5 spots, he's going to slide in well. This is a team that, look, they feel very, very confident that they're going to win the division. They can do damage. We'll see. Graham Barton should be a big contributor right away.
All right, let's finish up the last division here. Marvin Harrison Jr., obvious choice with Arizona.
Yeah, man, number 1 receiver. You got to be excited if you're Kyler Murray, being able to throw to a big-time playmaker, a guy who is polished as they come, and a motivated player. I'm sure Marvin Harrison is not necessarily watching Hard Knocks the offseason, but I'm sure it filtered to him that some people didn't view him as the unanimous wide receiver 1 in the draft class. That motivated Marvin Harrison Jr. that shows up could be the impact player. I've compared him to Larry Fitzgerald in terms of what he can do for this franchise. I look for him to do those Larry Fitzgerald type things right away.
If he had CJ Stroud for this last year instead of 2 years ago, there'd be so much buzz and heat on him coming into this year. Like, this might be the best receiver we've seen in X amount of years, blah, 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 blah. But they just didn't have good quarterback play last year at Ohio State. So it disguised the greatness a little bit there. Leonard Floyd, I put down there for the Niners because 2 things. Number 1, he's a talented pass rusher. But number 2, I think it is interesting when you look at their coaching staff and the guys that they have in place there. I just know there's been a lot of love for this player, so they're excited to get him in the fold.
Yeah, excited to get him in the fold, and what you're looking for is the right complement to Nick Bosa. Floyd has quietly put up 10 sacks and kind of gotten around this thing where he may not be the number 1 pass rusher, but on the backside, he can be a dangerous pass rusher. Love the energy, the athleticism, and the fact that the Niners typically play from ahead. He's going to have a lot of sack opportunities, and it might be the first time in a long time that he's been able to do that.
Yeah, one of Brandon Staley's favorite players in the league. So interesting fit there. Very, very good fit. Byron Murphy, DT for Seattle, as they try and get some interior pass rush cranked up there.
Yeah, explosive athlete. Really, really surprised that he didn't go in the top 10 based on what he showed during his time at Texas. But the Seattle Seahawks benefit from that. And when I look at Mike McDonald and how he was able to unlock Justin Madubuike, maybe Brian Murphy gives them that interior pass rush presence that they've been lacking. Disruptive at the point of attack, explosive, dominant. They do that, man. They have enough weapons on the outside to be able to really harass quarterbacks, but it starts on the inside.
Yep. Last one here. We'll stay on the defensive line. Jared Verse with the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it. No one can replace what Aaron Donald is, but collectively, this unit is going to try to do it inside and outside, being able to have enough production where they not only get the sack production that they need, but they get the tackles for losses, the disruptive plays at a point of attack. When you looked at Jared Verse at Florida State, man, power puncher. To me, he reminded me of the guy that you watch every Sunday in Khalil Mack, more of a power rusher to kind of overwhelm people. If he brings that to the table with the other players that they have, Brian Young and Kobe Turner, this is
Brandon Fisk coming in there as teammate.
I mean, they have some pieces. This is a really good young team. And I know they appear to be older because we always think about Matthew Stafford, but when we did that exercise the other day, they have some intriguing pieces where they can be in this conversation for a while.
Yep, he's going to test your brakes. That's what I said about Jared Verse coming out. I mean, if you're an offensive tackle and you can't anchor, he's going to expose that in a big way. But that was a fun exercise, Buck. We ripped through all 32 teams, did it quickly, able to give you one player, new face, new place we're looking forward to. And I'm fired up to get out to training camp, be up there at Cowboys. You're already at Jags, and our tour will commence, and we'll be able to come back here on the pod and chat it up about what we've seen. But I will tell you this, Buck, after last year, after the encouragement that you gave me, who was the running back that you encouraged me to draft from the Jags who screwed me? He screwed my fantasy team, Buck. He just absolutely screwed me. He was having a great
Tank Bigsby.
Tank Bigsby. You owe me one, because I did the fantasy draft like right after one of the first days of training camp, and apparently Tank Bigsby had the greatest training camp practice of all time because I took him and it screwed me. Screwed me.
He let us down. We'll be back. Fantasy will be back.
Okay, I need a good tip this year. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. We'll see you next time right here on Move the Sticks.